The following is intended for mature audiences only.
Welcome to the news from Lalaland podcast. Yeah! Hello and welcome to the news from Lalaland. This is a podcast where two siblings with a strange and sheltered past share their story through pop culture, philosophy, and creative nonsense. I'm your host, Sarah Sokol, and I am here with my elder brother, Nicholas Sokol.
Why, hello, Sarah.
Hello,
it's good
Nick.
to be here.
I'm glad to hear you say that, because here's where we are, and it's really important to be happy in the moment sometimes, you know.
Well, it's good to be here with you, Sarah, for the first time ever, since this is the first episode.
I feel like we should start as we mean to go on by not lying to the people.
That's true. Well, we admit that we've been recording episodes for a little while now. However, it happens to be almost Christmas time, and I have no idea if it's a good idea or a good strategy to release a brand new podcast around a holiday. Or if it's a good idea to even have a topical episode, or
if it's a good idea to have a podcast.
Yeah, or to start that podcast with a topical episode. However, we're about to do all of those things.
Well, the thing is that, you know, like, what holiday would fit in better with the nonsensicalness and also the atheism of this podcast than
and
Christmas?
Just straight up paganism. Yeah,
exactly. And it's just like such a wonderful combination, and it also comes along with so many memories. And a lot of what this podcast is about our childhood, our memories, and how weird that childhood was.
That's true. We're going to get to that. So I think that releasing a podcast is kind of like a Christmas present to each other and ourselves. Anyway, so who are we?
Yeah, well, we're going to give all of that away in way too much detail in a later podcast that will be titled Origin Stories. And you can get the full picture. But in brevity, I am a musician / author / general all about worker in order to make money.
They just need to know what your sign is, Sarah.
Oh, and I'm a Sag. I'm a spicy Sagittarius. And we grew up in a very religious, sort of restrictive environment, and we are both now identify as atheist / agnostic. I think both atheist, right? And
yes, of course.
Yeah. Atheist defined as the lack of accepting of the theist's assertions.
Yes, it might be a little too early for that.
All right.
Yeah, we might vary in our levels of militant cynicism and from day to day, but atheist would be the best word to describe my view on that sort of non-thing.
Yeah, but how did we talk about your origins? Obviously we came from the same place, but who are you?
Well, I'm Nick, and I'm a nurse and a musician and a dad. And I come at this from the same place where, I guess a lot of people are going to identify with the idea of having a very conservative, religious, restrictive background. But I'd like to think that our version of that is kind of one that you might not have heard of before, and fairly unique in a lot of ways, by virtue of the religion that we were in, the environment that we were in, and also the parents that we had. It was just kind of a weird, quirky thing. We were homeschooled, and homeschooled by our mom, and we had a dad who was a mountain man for many years, living in the woods, having all kinds of crazy adventures before he finally sort of settled down and had us. He's a good dad, but just a kind of a wild ride sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And then the religion that we were in is called the Orthodox Church, the Orthodox Christian Church. It's
the Eastern Orthodox Christian.
Yeah. It's kind of an ancient sect that has a lot of different levels of intensity to which different parishes might adhere to the strictness of the ancient side of that religion. Ours was on the more extreme, more kind of monastic side. And we'll go into lots of that. We have lots of episodes where we talk about all kinds of crazy, silly, funny things. that come out of that religion, things that seem so bizarre to us now, but seem so normal growing up. And then we'll talk a lot about pop culture too, at least what we think is pop culture. How would we know?
Yeah, well, one other thing that's important about us is that we're both 90s kids who have no idea what the 90s were all about or the 2000s. So we usually like to start each episode with this segment that we call the pop culture moment. Pop culture moment!
Yeah.
It explores things that either are now or were considered pop culture that we
And
didn't
some things
experience.
that have not yet come to pass. Sorry.
A little pop culture tie-in for you guys there.
Yep, Lord of the Rings, totally pop culture.
Yeah.
See, and it's possible, like I said, that our idea of pop culture might be somewhat misguided sometimes, because there was all kinds of things and people going on in the world that we didn't know about, because we had no part of our restriction. Despite a lot of lovely elements of our childhood, and we'll go into those too, but we didn't have access to much, if any, technology. We didn't really have access to internet for a very long time. We were limited to CDs that we could check out from the library, so obviously nothing new, no new music, and
Yeah, I mean, we had like washing machines, depends how you define technology, but
that's
yes.
true. Egg timers, washing machines, but any technology that pumps like a really sexy Britney Spears beats into your household, or shows you images or from the world of current pop culture, those things did not exist.
No, or to make it more topical, as that's what we're doing today, Mariah Carey, who is like the queen of Christmas.
Yeah, but she doesn't want a lot for Christmas. I'd say, if I had to say like how many things I think she needs, it'd be like one, and it's kind of specific about where she wants it, underneath the Christmas tree.
She wants one human wrapped under her Christmas tree, and you think that's not unreasonable.
Yeah, I hope they gave him an oxygen tank in there.
So I think there's this overarching sort of concept of what Christmas is to a lot of people. It's like going overboard on the decorations, eating way too many sweets, giving way too many gifts, getting a lot of gifts, having a Christmas tree. All of these things, I feel like we participated in to a certain extent, but through a much more religious filter, which is really interesting because in our church, Christmas was not the most important holiday of the year. It was Easter or Pascha, which was much, much more important. So I feel like our parents really tried to fight against that.
Well, the Orthodox understood that Jesus on his birthday was pretty much worthless. He didn't turn water into wine until way later in life, and he was like a teenager before he was even like entertaining philosophers at the temple.
But if you killed him, it would still be murder. Sorry, different topic.
Man, you keep trying to get really philosophical all of a sudden.
Anyway.
So if you murdered Jesus before he had performed a miracle, is it just like murdering an ordinary person? Or does his potential wonder-workingness... Never mind. Christmas... Well, I think there's the idea of the Christmas spirit and the kind of purification of Christmas is actually very common in popular culture. We have this practiced element of Christmas, which everyone does, the commercialism. So many families, majority of families in this well-to-do nation that we live in, lavish gifts on family and friends and their kids and stuff like that, piles of things, all the while telling each other stories about how the real Christmas spirit is not about the gifts and the buying, and our media tells us that, the Christmas movies that are out there, and
that it's about helping the little match girl who died on the corner of your street because she ran out of matches that were keeping her warm somehow.
And but no, the Orthodox is here to tell you that not only is that the spirit of Christmas, it's also about a holy virgin who somehow magically gives birth to the king of the universe inside of a stable. And
Yes.
we have to take this with a lot of reverence and a lot of seriousness, and you have to fast 40 days from all meat and dairy products before this event. And
Yes.
one of the things related to Christmas and pop culture that made our experience of Christmas really different than I think a lot of other people in our country is that since we were fasting, it was a time of fasting and prayer and spiritual preparation before Christmas. We were not supposed to be celebrating prior to Christmas. We didn't get our Christmas tree until right before Christmas. We, we didn't put up a lot of decorations until right before. We didn't go to Christmas parties. It was all fasting and prayer up until Christmas. And then the idea was after that, you have the 12 days of Christmas. So it's an old-fashioned idea. We celebrated Christmas on the day of Christmas and thereafter, right when all the stores and advertisements and everywhere else in our country was pulling them all down and burning them ceremoniously.
Yeah. But our mom also got into the concept of Jesus only got 3 gifts. Why should anyone else get more than 3 gifts? Are you better than Jesus?
Yeah.
So there was definitely a lot of attempts at destroying the whole commercialism aspect as it relates to Christmas. But of course, you're still engaging in it by any number of gifts.
Yeah, it's true. Well, but you're supposed to focus on the spirit of giving and not on the idea of just stuff. It's like the idea that you thought of someone. So
that's nice, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. We did have kind of a snobbish idea of Christmas in culture, right? And so that came from...
It was snobbish in general. You have to admit, it was all very much...
Oh, you're saying
have
the
the
Orthodox
best...
Church, the Orthodox worldview.
Whatever it was, if there's a different version of it than ours is the better version. Ours is the best version, in fact.
Yeah.
But yeah, continue, sorry.
Yeah, no, yeah. We just had this idea that silly Santa Claus stuff and, elves and goofy things like that were kind of, I talked to Mom about this recently, actually. She didn't like the idea that Santa Claus had sort of stolen Jesus's thunder, baby Jesus's thunder a bit. It was all about Santa and less about Jesus. And then also, she didn't want Santa taking the credit for her giving gifts to us too. So it's like, Santa, you already took away the credit from Jesus. Now you're going to take it away from me too? You fucking greedy bastard. Just taking all the credit. Ho, ho, ho. Ho, 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 ho. So that's how I felt about Santa.
Santa is evil, an evil credit stealer.
Oh man.
Man, that's really funny. I mean, I guess it's kind of true. It is funny because for a while there, they did sign our gifts as being from Santa, but I can't remember ever believing actively in Santa.
Yeah, I can't either, actually. And which is funny because I remember, Dad believed in Santa.
What?
Yeah, well, he would say with a serious look on his face, like his saying it was trying to make himself believe it, that I do believe in Santa. And I think what he meant probably was the spirit of Santa that lives, or he believed in Saint Nicholas, the legend from which Santa Claus was partially derived, and I'm sure combined with some kind of pagan folk legends, combined with Saint Nicholas. And he believed in Saint Nicholas and that he was carrying on the spirit and the mission of Saint Nicholas by giving more gifts on Christmas and all of that. And he would just kind of mash all of those ideas together into this idea that, yes, I believe in Santa.
Yeah, which that was also confusing to me because we had a St. Nicholas Day. St. Nicholas, by the way, who Nick, my dear older brother here, is named after. So that's a very big day for him.
And Dad was fond of saying that if you say St. Nicholas really fast, it becomes Santa Claus. And that was where it came from.
Nicholas.
I think it probably has a more complex literary evolution. But he did figure out that if you say Santa Claus really fast, it sounds kind of like Santa Claus.
You never know. A lot of this stuff originated in England and that they just talk all sorts of nonsense. Cheerio, chip, chip.
Santa Claus? Hey, that sounds like Santa Claus. And then somebody else was like, Santa Claus. Like a clause, like in a contract. The Santa Claus, get it? And then they created an entire movie franchise based upon this.
Yeah, the movie franchise based upon the concept that if you murder Santa, you become the new Santa.
Oh, it's so fucked up.
We're talking about the Santa Claus, the Tim Allen movies. I'm sure everyone is well aware.
Yeah, and that's what's funny about the Santa Claus, the original Santa Claus movie. Is I think that was the most one of the more contemporary movies in general that we were allowed to watch.
Yeah, when we were older. Like, whenever we talk about movie watching in the podcast, it happened when we were a bit older. Like, I would say until I was 10-ish, there wasn't
not really even
any
a TV.
movies. Yeah, there were no TV, no movies. But after that, they started to sort of introduce the ones that they saw as harmless, which included, for some reason, the Tim Allen Santa Claus movie, like you said.
This is it's my number one divorce movie out there.
Yeah, it's a divorce movie, number one, which they never even were allowed to say the D word in the house. Like,
wait, okay, I gotta say, I just watched that movie Marriage Story with Adam Driver in it.
Oh, Adam Driver.
That is a fantastic divorce movie.
He's such a hottie.
So I would have to say that the Santa Claus is my second favorite divorce movie out there.
Okay. It definitely ticks all the boxes. It has a guy taking his kid to a restaurant on Christmas because he fucked up the dinner.
What guy could be expected to know how to cook? I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and there was a bunch of other guys there too who had also failed in cooking. So the idea was no guy could successfully cook a turkey.
Yeah, that's just sexist.
But okay, this is all making me think of too that there's this. I would say that us talking about Christmas right now is making it sound like we were a little more connected with pop culture than we really were. Because I think there is a lot of ways in which we were isolated in our upbringing from pop culture. But there's a place in which our little secluded Orthodox world sort of Venn diagrams bubbles in with pop culture. And because Christmas is a place where pop culture is actually looking backwards a little bit. It's sort of, while there's a lot of new modern Christmas things that are coming out, they all sort of harken back to a better time, a different age, with logs roasting by the fire and singing, and everybody sings these religious songs. And
like even people who have not been to church, do not attend church for Christmas, maybe even don't believe in the Christian version of God, will still sing, "Oh, holy night, when God was born in a manger,"
Those are definitely the words.
I'm clearly very Christmassy these days. But yeah, you're right that it's a more merged aspect of pop culture and religion when it comes to Christmas. I feel like it's fun because it's fun. Pagan holidays, pagan traditions are really fun to participate in.
Yeah.
Humans are always looking for the next thing to celebrate, right?
Well, speaking of pagan traditions, we should talk about the fact that we are today currently atheists, and yet we still love celebrating Christmas because I think at this point, I think it's safe to say that Christmas is not a Christian holiday anymore.
Yeah, I feel like it's sort of because of all the commercialism, because of everything, because of the sense of fun. And like we can throw ourselves into this space where we're like, yeah, Santa Claus and magic and mystery and wonder, and it's all there and real and everyone's acknowledging it on this one day. And we don't have to lose that just because we're not accepting a God.
Yeah. Well, that's all the important things about Christmas nowadays, as it is currently celebrated by a majority of Americans, is that it's Santa Claus, it's giving gifts, it's family, togetherness. I don't know, this vague concept of belief as a good in and of itself. Like believe in something. I don't know. Live, laugh,
is
love.
Believing part of it?
Just
I guess
believe.
that's part of the whole Santa Claus thing.
There's a lot of fucking signs out there to just say believe on them.
Really?
And it's like, thank you. I guess I do.
I mean,
maybe you should be more specific.
Yeah, like, I believe things based on evidence. No, but I know what you mean. It's like the conceptual thing of, like, recapturing the childlike
Mm-hmm.
joy and wonder of Santa Claus leaving things under the tree for you because you were good.
I should also acknowledge that, of course, we're fully aware that this is the holiday season, and more holidays happen here than just Christmas.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
However, I guess this is just my explanation for why, as an atheist, I still say Merry Christmas to people. I don't always say Happy Holidays because I don't feel like it's necessarily, for me, it's not a religious thing at all. So if you say I'm discriminating against someone else's religion, I would say, no, I'm saying Merry Christmas because I think Christmas is fun, and I've chosen, as a free thinker, to celebrate it as my holiday of choice because it brings a lot of nice memories for me. So
Yeah. I know someone who just started or finished, I forget the exact timing, but they're celebrating Hanukkah. And they're planning to have a Christmas celebration. Like, who celebrates Hanukkah around a fucking Christmas tree?
double dipping bastards.
Yeah, exactly. You're getting like 7 days of presents from Hanukkah, and then you're getting a whole nother day of presents
From Santa Claus. Wait, did they give gifts at Hanukkah? I don't know anything about Hanukkah.
Yeah, there's like a long period of time where every day you get like a little gift, but as I understand, it's traditionally like a dreidel or a bag of nuts.
I've always wanted what's a dreidel?
It's like it's a spinny top, but it has like the different symbols on it. And if you roll one of the different symbols, they each mean different things. So it's like a little game, and you can win it or lose it, as all games.
That actually sounds fun.
Yeah. That's why if you listen to the words of that song, dreidel, 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 I made you out of clay. Dreidel, 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 and with you I will play.
I guess I just, when you sing that song, I don't assume that it's going to be a fun game because, back in the day, people used to just roll hoops around, and that was considered jolly good fun.
Like stick and ball.
I shouldn't criticize those games because stick and ball is super fun. Ball in a cup. This is what I'm thinking of. I don't know why I was thinking when you said stick and ball, it's ball in a cup.
I was thinking of baseball.
What? But no, like rolling hoops around. I've been playing with my kids hula hoops. And you can like spin them and roll them so they come back to you. And
yeah, I feel like humans are just like more evolved otters. No, I'm just kidding.
We are, totally. A couple of summers ago, I volunteered at the Boys and Girls Club, and I showed those kids, like young kids, how to spin a hula hoop across the room and have it roll back to you, and it kept us all entertained for like 20 minutes. Yeah, man, we are like the dolphins of the city.
All right, city dolphin. Do you have any other movies that you can remember that we were allowed to watch aside from the obvious It's a Wonderful Life, which we watched religiously every year?
Yes. Yeah, that was the true, fully sanctioned Christmas movie that we were allowed to watch. I think the Santa Claus was kind of a guilty pleasure for our parents, but the real meat and potatoes of Christmas was the tradition of watching George Bailey and It's a Wonderful Life and
Mary.
Yeah, which is I actually have not watched in several years now. I might have to remind myself.
It's a good movie for the most part, aside from like the racism and
I didn't think that there were any people of color in that movie to be racist
There's
against.
There's one. She's the servant
okay.
of the Bailey family.
Okay, gotcha. It's a little bit of a caricature there.
Exactly.
Yeah, gotcha. Huh.
But she is awesome.
Well, I don't really know her, so I wouldn't.
Yeah,
I wouldn't.
That's true.
Is it racist to like assume that she's awesome? Because
no, I meant her character is awesome. I don't know the actress either. What? You know who else is awesome? Doctor Strange.
And Spider-Man. Just with his little.
Were you about to say with his little wrist?
His little whippy wrists, and
his little whippy wrist,
and his little jumpy jumps, and
his cute little outfits, spandex. Anyway,
outfits.
We're getting off track. Any other movies besides those two that were like The Bells of St. Mary? Isn't that
That's not a Christmas movie, I don't think.
No. What am I thinking?
Well, Christmas Carol. Some versions of that.
Were we allowed to watch that? No, I
No,
don't
it's
think
true.
so.
We just read the book.
Yeah, we read the book a lot of
Okay,
the
well,
Christmas Carol.
we could talk about our Christmas Carol because that is a very popular part of pop culture.
That's true,
However,
and we experienced.
I don't know how many people have actually read the original Charles Dickens, but we read that while cracking walnuts every Christmas season.
Yeah, and eventually we found a radio program that regularly did the play version of it, which was very exciting because you got to do the little like shoes walking on gravel sounds, and then like
God bless us, everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. Good time. Good memories. That's what Christmas really has become all about to me. Like you said, not about religion necessarily, although it's fun to talk about religion for me. It's fun to talk about those aspects. Like the woman who went to test the virginity after Mary gave birth, and then her whole hand withered up because she tried to touch the virginal vagina.
Regular humans won't know about this story. This is one of the apocryphal Orthodox stories that would one of those special bonuses you get from the Orthodox Church. It's like everything, all the weirdness of everything else, plus some other weird shit kind of thrown in there.
I feel like it's because people have asked the question, like, well, how do you know she was still a virgin?
Well, someone tried to touch her there and find out, and then her hand withered away.
So that's why.
That's how we knew. Yeah, but did she figure it out before the withering, or was it still kind of inconclusive? Maybe the Holy Spirit was hiding something. He was like, I'll just find out if you're... No, fuck you, you can't look. The Holy Spirit was getting really defensive and just panicked and withered a hand.
But yeah, I forget what I was saying with all of that. I was just saying I enjoy thinking about the religious aspects too from a entertainment standpoint, but for me, what it means is memories. It means nostalgia. It means tradition, and really it means that selfishness of giving. Because
you said the selfishness of giving.
Yeah.
The philosophical ideas are leaking out of you in subtle ways.
Hey, I can reframe anything to make myself the villain. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a lot of pop culture. Like I said, we've recorded some of these episodes before, so. This ain't our first rodeo, and we have sort of developed a little program for you all that includes a pop culture moment, which you have just heard, slightly more than a moment, like our pop culture 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Pop culture 20.
How about the pop 20?
The pop 20, and now we're going to move on to something that's a little more obscure, called the Sokolism of the Day. Sokolism of the Day. In our real first episode, the non-topical, non-Christmas one, we will define what a Sokolism here. But here, suffice to say that it's just a weird thing from our past that could have only come out of our house. We tell you some story from our background that will kind of give you an idea of how we got to be this way. If you're ever at some point thinking like, how did this happen? Well, this is how you do it.
Yeah, via Sokolism.
Yeah.
No.
So speaking of consummation, of what consummated us.
Why do you gotta go there, man? Every time.
Do you have a better segue into talking about our dad? You try.
What about his childlike joy of Christmas?
Oh, that's way better, actually. All right, cut out all the consummation part. Dad, of course, was asexual and genderless spiritual being,
okay.
But somehow miraculously birthed us. A lot like the Virgin Mary herself. And have I gone too far the other direction now?
I feel like now I'm imagining a male giving birth, and it's like...
And it's your dad.
Oh, God.
Oh, go back.
No. Go, let's walk it back to the edge of the cliff right before we chose to dive off.
Yeah, like when you were saying that it was his childlike love of Christmas that ties it together. Childlike as in he had just, how early, like had he just been birthed? No.
No. I feel like maybe I don't want to speak for him. He's passed away. But I feel like he didn't have the happiest childhood, and I'm guessing that included Christmases. Christmases, holidays of all kinds are times of high stress for families, especially families that have issues with abuse. So I feel like he probably didn't have a great time. So I feel like he was always sort of trying to reverse that with us and make it like the best time ever, and really for himself as well as us.
Yeah, he definitely had he enjoyed a lot of things that you're kind of about Christmas that you're kind of supposed to grow out of, like going sledding and drinking hot cocoa, and these were all things that he sort of demanded of of the family. We did, of course,
Demanded.
we of course enjoyed them, but I mean, he would have done them anyway. Going and
Yeah.
driving around and looking at Christmas lights and going Christmas caroling and singing Christmas carols around at home with the family, and making cookies and
Yeah, just kind of as much of the giving aspects, the social aspects, the joyous, the fun, the snow aspects, the old songs. Yeah, I think they would let us listen to old like Bing Crosby soundtracks and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I think we already kind of hinted about some of the other strange things about Dad, that he lived in the woods for all those years. And let's tell a dad story that's not related to Christmas.
And we would tell a Christmas story from that time, but I think he was a strict atheist during that time, so I don't think
No,
he
there
got
is
into
one
it.
Christmas story from there that he told frequently, actually,
Oh.
from his mountain man days. So they went up, and this is not the story that I had prepared for today, but I'm going to tell you this one because it actually is Christmas related. Anyway, so the story is that Dad and and his group of commune group of mountain climber forest fire buddies decided to buy a bunch of 100-pound sacks of flour and beans and rice and haul everything up into this abandoned talc mine way up in the mountains, and then allow themselves to be snowed in. So they hike way up there, way out of range of a car, and then get snowed in. So they literally couldn't leave all winter long up in the mountains. And he said that they were on I think a north-facing slope and just hadn't seen the sun in weeks. And then finally on Christmas Day, he decided that he was going to go hike around the mountain to see the sun. And he did it, and he hiked around, and just as the sun was rising and shining down and sparkling on all the trees and making these brilliant crystalline sparkles on all the pine needles, the snow-covered pine needles, and he said it was like being surrounded by a forest of Christmas trees, and he saw the sun for the first time, and I think it was just this incredible cathartic moment for him. And
Wow.
yeah, so there was a Christmas story from there.
That's beautiful, man. See, how could you see something like that and not believe in God?
Let me rephrase that. How could you see something like that and feel like you needed to believe in God? I mean, what more do you need? Does there need to be a deeper reason for that?
Yeah, I guess there did, because it's moments like that that inspired his turning to religion. But he always referenced moments like that, just these beautiful, transcendent, religious moments of nature that sound so pagan and wild and beautiful to me. Everything about it appeals to me, except for the ultimate leap of logic. But
yeah, well, there were all these sort of vestiges of his wild mountain days that he retained while he was with us. So a lot of our family trips and adventures and stuff, we did a lot of backpacking and hiking together, and my dad would sometimes just take me and you out hiking, and if we encountered a stream way up in the mountains, he didn't go on very popular trails. Generally we were going on these sort of secluded, way out there places, and we encountered a stream, he would strip off all his clothes down to naked and dive into the water and come out of the freezing cold water just screaming and whooping at the top of his lungs. And this is something that it was a requirement back in his mountain man days, and he just decided not to give it up. So it didn't matter which of us were with him, he would do it. I definitely did it when I was little because I thought it was super cool. But I think I got kind of embarrassed at a fairly young age and stopped doing it. Dad did not care.
yeah, he did lack a lot of personal shame in a lot of ways, which I think was cool. It was cool. It made him really frustrating, but really a cool guy.
I wonder if it has to do with that, like living in a homemade cabin by yourself with no water or electricity out in the mountains. You just like write your own rule book. And that's a place where, you get to explore a side of yourself and sort of an uninhibited side of yourself that maybe a lot of people don't get to cultivate.
Yeah.
So these well, you want to read this poem I wrote called Baptism?
You don't want to bring it to the people with one of your special voices? Nick's kind of known for his special voices.
Poetry voices.
Yeah.
All right. This one is called Baptism. We should maybe we could preface this by saying that baptism is a big part of Orthodox background.
Oh, yes. Sorry, you cannot go to heaven if you haven't been baptized.
Yeah, you get blessed with oil and smoke from a censer is wafted all over you, and you're dipped in a bath of water and oil.
Lots of oil involved. Yeah, what is that? Don't you have to say like something is anathema a bunch of times?
Yeah, you have to recite a creed. You literally, if you're an adult doing this, not a baby obviously, you're asked to spit upon Satan, and you spit on the ground.
And all his works, and all his pride.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild. So that's the baptism ceremony. So these are this is the background I'm coming from. If, I think of a baptism as this being a kind of sacred sacrament. Here we go. Howls of animalistic delight tear through mountain treetops as you emerge, dripping and naked, from every stream you ever crossed. A new man with new sight, you could never be content to simply stand on the banks of rushing waters. One day you will dive into a beautiful mountain stream, from which you will not resurface, and into which you will merge your elements with its timeless flow. And the poor Holy Spirit, who had to keep descending to bless the frigid waters, may finally get a well-deserved rest.
That's amazing.
Oh man, and maybe I should explain the Bible reference in there, since a lot of our audience is probably going to be atheists. I hope they're atheists, because otherwise we're going to really piss some people off.
I hope they've read the Bible, but are also atheists.
Yeah, well, the baptism of Jesus, the Holy Spirit descends from heaven in the form of a dove, and a loud voice is heard that says, "This is my only begotten..." Sorry, God. "This is my only begotten Son. Hear ye him."
Sorry, I think you mean, "This is my only begotten Son." Because God is a woman.
That was your woman voice?
Yeah, this is me being a woman. A strong woman.
I'm strong, okay? Look at these muscles.
I can cook a turkey.
Oh, man. I feel like the format of this podcast just gets wilder the further you get in. Like we hook you in with the pop culture, but now we're about to go further afield.
This is the section of the podcast where we ask each other questions, and it ends up leading to some pointless conjecture. Pointless conjecture. All right, so I'll be honest. I have a holiday-themed one,
Oh,
so
good.
if you don't, then you can go first. Wrap it up.
I don't have a holiday-themed one here. I'm going to give you a religious question here. Pick one of the religions of the world that you know about, specifically one that makes supernatural claims. Now imagine that it's real, and you know for sure that it's real. How does the world look different? And how would you behave differently in this for sure knowledge of this?
Okay, well, this is a hard one because a lot of the reasons I don't follow any of them is because I follow the logical conclusion to, if this were real, what the fuck? Like, that's so messed up, and the world would look totally different.
I know,
So it's
that's
like...
right. That's why I asked this question.
Let's look at, I guess, the one I'm most familiar with. Oh, or Mormonism. I know a little bit about that one.
Oh, man. That's like Christianity just with extra weird stuff added on.
Well, yeah, and it invented, 50 years ago. So let's say that's true. I don't know all of the details of what it teaches, but I feel like its effect on the world would be an extremely clean and scrubbed upright. Like
Do you
everything
mean
would be.
like physically clean, literally clean,
I
or
mean,
like
physically clean, like clean streets, wide parking spaces, big happy smiles, clean children filling the schools. And then there would be like not death camps or prison camps, but like other camps. Like
what?
people like currently Mormons will like ban teenage children if they try to come out as gay, or if they don't attend church, or if they stray at all from their values. So there will be like this whole contingent of other people that are like rebels who are either, it could go one of two ways. It's either like rebels against the big Mormon, or it's like they're kept in this pity place where the Mormons like feed them whatever, but they're sort of like outcast from society, like prison slaves, essentially.
So you're just imagining that your description sounds a lot like Salt Lake City. If you've ever spent any time in
I'm
Salt Lake
just
City.
imagining a big world of Salt Lake City.
I don't think you're quite thinking the hypothetical through deep enough, though, because
Oh, no, you're right. This is if it's true, not if everyone believed it.
I know. I guess I should say, yeah, maybe I should have been more specific. I think we should say like everyone knows it's true. Everybody had a vision. Like everybody knows that Mormonism is real. So you've got everybody in the world having like as many kids as they can have, because Mormonism is all about family.
Yeah, so we have an overpopulation.
Yeah. After a certain point of time, maybe a little ways down the road, because it's still such an early religion, but those parking spaces are going to start to shrink a little bit. The schools are going to get a little more crowded. The streets are going to get a little narrower.
That's true. That's true. I really want to look up the core tenets of like the Latter-day Faith.
Oh, that's right. And you're not supposed to call it Mormonism anymore. It's Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints.
I'm sorry. It's just so long compared to Mormon.
Well, and the reason for that, I actually spoke to a Mormon about this recently, who said that they wanted to be referred to that way because it established them more firmly in people's minds as a Christian sect. They consider themselves to be Christians. However, Christians don't often recognize them, so they say, I'm not a Mormon, I'm Church of Jesus Christ, Latter-day Saints. And to a lot of Christians, a lot of more simpler, or, that sounds condescending, more conventional versions of Christianity than the one we grew up with, simply believing in Jesus is enough to be a Christian.
That's true. But they believe in the Bible. They just believe that the Book of Mormon is as important as the Bible.
Yeah.
So I feel like, in my mind, they count as Christian too.
Sure.
You said, just was some more crazy. But they also, don't they believe that they like get their own planet that's populated with their children?
I think so. Yeah, there's a family planet thing that I've heard of.
So do the planets exist in our universe? Like they become extraterrestrial, essentially?
Oh, shit, maybe. I don't know. No, maybe I don't know all that much about some of the, specifics of the very specific Mormon things, but I mean, there's some standard Christian stuff about like getting tortured in hell for eternity, that if you were 100% sure that was true, truly a possibility, like if there's a creator of the universe and you don't do things quite right, you will be literally tortured for time without end in hell.
Yeah, you're right. I feel like
that really changes things.
It changes a lot, because we know that, like you said, if they believe there's a hell, which I guess if heaven is a planet, or maybe they believe in the normal, like the biblical hell, but I feel like they would be more justified in what they already want to do, which is restrict people in terms of their behavior and their thoughts. So, like, I just believe the laws in general would be restrictive Mormon laws. It would be like you had to attend church. You have to do all these things legally, because if the law is not following the tenets of this true faith, that will lead to it's essentially like saying everyone can drink and drive if you don't mandate their beliefs at this point, right?
Well, the thing is, like, and here's the question. Imagine that this religion is true. Morally, these things have to be laws.
Yeah.
I mean, those would be good laws. If you would mandate that people behave according to the tenets of the Mormon religion, because you would literally be certain to be tortured for eternity. Something way worse than like not wearing a seatbelt and getting in a car accident would happen to you.
Yeah.
And so we have laws that mandate, that protect people from much more benign things than eternal torment. I mean, this would be like the best society would be a totalitarian state where strict authoritarian Mormonism is practiced. I mean, if it
And
was
you would
truly
be
real.
grateful. You would be grateful because the law would be protecting you from your own weakness in order to get your eternal
Yeah, but
life.
does the eternal benefit count if you were like forced into it by a dictator, by a Mormon dictator? Like if you weren't really doing it from a clean spirit?
I don't know if the Mormon God really cares, does he?
Probably depends on who you ask.
In Orthodoxy, it doesn't seem to matter.
That's a debate among Christians that we're not going to resolve on this podcast.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
By faith you are saved, or by your works you are saved, or by faithful works, or I don't know. In any case, I think you would want to do your best as a government to mandate people live and behave in such a way, or at least are educated so that they will have the ability to behave in such a way as to avoid eternal damnation, because that's what we'd all want for each other, I'd like to think.
Yeah, I wonder if they would also... Sorry, I keep coming back to this. It's my nerd brain. But, like, would space travel also be more advanced? Like, would they focus more on that because they want to be able to visit each other?
Oh, on the planets?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, would that be a logical leap for them? Or...
I do not know that.
But if there's Mormons listening, let us know what you think. Let us know what the world would look like if your religion was true and everyone believed it.
Yeah. Well, I am truly curious about what the implications of that would be, and it actually
Me
very
too.
well could be true, because if you start getting into the what is it called, simulation theory of existence. I think this is a Nick Bostrom thing, where eventually humans will get so advanced, we keep creating more better and better simulations with higher and higher fidelity. Eventually we get to the point where we create a simulation of a conscious mind, and then it's not too long after that, once you've created one conscious mind, you can create multiple ones, and pretty soon humans, just because they can, will create simulations of their own world. They'll run those simulations, and then those humans, if they are truly identical to the humans we have here in our world, will eventually get so advanced to the point that they will create their own simulations. And why would they only make one simulation? There's probably a bunch of people that get the ability to do this. A bunch of simulations are made. So you eventually get to a world in which the total number of simulated worlds out there vastly outnumbers the number of real worlds where humans like us exist. And then what are the chances that you're on the real one? Way more likely that we're a simulation. That's the theory anyway. If your simulation was created by a Mormon, then in fact, despite implausibility beyond belief, the Mormon religion would in fact be true. In that world, he would have built it that way, He's the real God, actually. He created a situation where someone else is God, but it's actually him, and he doesn't know it. So our God doesn't actually know that he's our God.
Oh, interesting. I was just going to say, you've described an episode of Rick and Morty with that simulation
Oh, really?
theory.
Nice.
Yeah. Rick builds a battery that's powered by a tiny microverse that he sparked a tiny world
Awesome.
full of life that lives inside his battery. And he told them that by funneling this certain type of energy, extra energy source up through these areas, he basically made himself like God, and they were feeding his battery with their extra energy from their world. And then he goes down, his battery breaks, and so he shrinks himself down, and he visits his own micro universe to figure out why it's broken. And it's because one of the guys in the micro universe figured out how to create a micro universe that would power their entire universe.
And it started funneling off all the
So-
same energy in that direction.
So they didn't need energy anymore because another universe was making all their energy for them.
Ah,
So
gotcha.
so then they had to like dive deeper and deeper, and they kept getting anyway. It stacked up. It was hilarious,
man.
and it was very
That's trippy. That is trippy.
yeah. Yeah, good question. Good question. Took us a lot of places, I think.
It's true. I don't know if we came anywhere close to answering it.
I
but
gave a lot of answers. That's a really big question. Like, what would the world look like?
yeah, that's true.
Well, mine, I don't know if mine will take that long. It might just take a little bit of imagination.
I should hope so.
You're aware of Santa Claus, of course.
Santa Claus?
Santa Claus. You're aware of Belsnickel, naturally.
Of who?
Belsnickel.
What?
Have you heard of Krampus?
Yeah.
There's a lot of these like really interesting characters that are from a lot like German lore and
Sort of
Old
like
English
proto
lore.
Santa Clauses.
Proto Santa Clauses, other versions, evil versions for some reason, the Yule lads. My question to you is, if you were a supernatural being related to a holiday, what would your name be? What holiday would you be associated with? And what would your deal be? Like, what would your shtick be?
Oh, man, that is an awesome question. Let's think about this for a second. Well, it's like Halloween could be an obvious choice.
That would be awesome.
My name is Donut Man, and I am the supernatural being that represents National Donut Day. And
Hell yeah!
I have done a really terrible job of promoting my holiday because very few people actually celebrate National Donut Day. But this is an enormous person who rather looks like a stack of donuts. What does he do? His deal.
I feel like it's got to involve giving or stealing donuts, right?
Yeah, well, he does. Yeah, okay. So he rolls into town. He's kind of a military figure. He rolls into town.
Yes.
In a tank.
John Philip Sousa playing.
There's a marching band, but all the instruments are somehow like donut looking, you know.
Oh yes.
Like the big bass drum looks like a donut or whatever. And for some reason he's in a tank, and the tank is like firing giant donut holes out at people. And he rolls down the street playing a marching military march to a fanfare and fires donut holes at people. And
Yes.
that is Donut Man.
So and then he just like floats up into the sunset. Like, what's supernatural about it?
Oh, well, the problem with Donut Man, and I'm sorry that I couldn't have come up with a more creative name for Donut Man. The main problem with him is that he actually doesn't go away.
What about like Papa Glaze?
Oh yeah, okay. Glazoid. Lord Glazoid rolls into town, rolling on his tank and firing. And he gets a little carried away with his role, actually. He's one of the few holiday superheroes who doesn't really know when to stop. And so he marches in and he really takes on the conqueror mentality. And his goal is to literally fill the world with donut holes. And he just starts shooting them and he won't stop. He has an endless supply of donut holes.
He's a villain character, yes.
You know, it's the United States military would be too obvious, but it falls to a sort of underground vigilante group to destroy Glazoid's army every year in an epic donut-filled battle. Where Glazoid must be defeated.
I can see it so clearly, the jelly-filled ones splatting against their armor.
Yeah. They're like, putting people inside of, filled donuts, cream-filled donuts, and
Trojan donut.
Yeah, Trojan donut techniques. It's just crazy shit, and it happens every year, and no one really knows about it. This all happens, underground or, metaphorically underground. And Glazoid must be defeated by a tireless group of heroic individuals every year. And I just want to say thank you to Glazoid Resistance Army out there, because you are doing amazing work. We love Glazoid, and his arrival every year harkens sweet deliciousness into our lives. But every good thing must come to an end. And if Glazoid is allowed to continue his march, we literally would just live inside a giant pile of donuts.
I feel like I have to just end this segment with the thought that Lord Glazoid may disagree with you that everything must come to an end. Because donuts are rings, and rings are infinite.
Holy shit. That's Glazoid 2, Attack of the Infinity Donut. In the sequel, where he rolls in and he's cultivated not just a circle, but the infinity symbol donut. It's a twist. It's a cinnamon twist donut that infinitely circles around itself. And he wants to make the infinity twist that goes around the world. And so Donut Day will last forever. Glazoid arriving in his infinity twist.
Glazoid Rising? That's such a great movie.
Glazoid Rising, Attack of the Infinity Twist.
Oh man, that's great.
Well,
all right. Well, I think we should probably wrap it up. We're getting close to our time here. Unless you have any holiday Christmas thoughts, Christmas Nick?
No, I just want to say that be good, because Glazoid is watching.
May Glazoid's blessings and glaze be upon thee all this holiday season. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you'll check out the next episode that will not be so Christmas/holiday focused, but will still be full of shenanigans. This has been the news from La La Land, where the donuts have holes.
And when we go topical, we go all the way.
The theme music for this podcast was written and recorded by Nick and Sarah Sokol, and the music you are hearing right now was performed by the band Nuage on their album Neuf, available now on iTunes and Spotify. News from La La Land is a production of Voice of Sokol. To learn more about Voice of Sokol and the rest of Sarah's creative content and services, visit voiceofsokol.com. Thanks so much for listening, and please drop us a line at voiceofsokol@gmail.com. We would love to hear your feedback.